Good morning, MSU education majors and outdoor education students. I'm Dr. Shaver, and we're going to be talking today about canoeing and kayaking. But for today, we're just going to pretty much hit on the parts of the canoe, the equipment you need, and what the basic process is to get in and out, as well as two basic strokes I want you to be aware of. All right? Parts of the canoe that you need to have. You need to have three pieces of equipment to be able to canoe. You need a canoe, a vessel, a water vessel. You need a paddle. And you need a personal flotation device, otherwise known as a PFD. All right, those are the three pieces you need to be able to canoe. You can canoe by yourself, but it's much more fun if you canoe with a friend. So that's what I'm going to suggest you do. We're going to go over the basic parts of the canoe. To start with, you have all water vessels have similar terminology used for their parts. There are some that are specific to that vessel, some that are common. So we're going to go over both of those. First of all, we're going to hit the different parts. This flat piece right here, at each end of the canoe, is called a deck plate. It is there to help provide stability, keep water out of the front, but it's also used for us to lift and carry the canoe. It makes it very easy to lift the canoe and carry it for that. The next part of the canoe we're going to talk about are your seats. Some canoes have 2 seats, some have 3. This canoe has 2. You have a stern, which is the back of the boat. This is your stern seat. And down here is your bow seat. What that means is that when I'm in the canoe, I'm facing this way so that we know what direction we're going. The next part of the canoe that we're going to talk about are the gunwales. The gunwales, again, help hold and give stability to the canoe. It also helps keep water out, but it's something you can grab hold of. It's this top edge right here, or lip, on the canoe right here are called your gunwales, so that you have those. The next part of the canoe we talk about are your thwarts. These bars right here. These bars are called thwarts, T-H-W-A-R-T. And they again help maintain the stability of the canoe, but they can be used also to carry the canoe. There's 2 or 3 different types of ways you can carry a canoe. You've got a suitcase carry, an overhead carry. And there's other reasons that these thwarts are here to help with the maneuverability of the canoe and how well it works. So you've got your deck plate, your gunwale, your seats, your thwart, the center line in the canoe, the center line where the canoe is connected for this one, because some you'll have molded canoes and it's still the center line, but it's also called the keel, and that is to help keep the canoe balanced and in the center of the water. If I stay on the keel, then the canoe's not going to wobble. If I step off to the side, you can see it wobble. So that's important to know when you go to get in the canoe. You want to be aware of that. So if you stand on the keel, if you stand on the keel, then I can pretty much stay stable. The other thing in a canoe, you don't ever want to keep your center of gravity high. You want to always have it low. The lower the center of gravity, the better off you are. The other part of the canoe I want to talk about is the bilge. This lower part right here is the bilge. It's where the canoe curves and helps to run through the water. So those are the basic parts of the canoe. Now, what are the different areas of the canoe? I talked about the seats. This is the stern seat, or the back seat. This person controls the direction of the canoe, whether they are paddling in tandem with their partner or they're using their paddle as a rudder. The front part of the canoe right here, this seat is called the bow. It's the bow seat. Well, so basically you have the stern of the canoe, you have the bow of the canoe. Those are the 2 ends. Now, when I'm sitting in my seat and I'm facing forward as I should, the left side of the canoe is called port. And you will hear any water vessel, the left side of that vessel will be a port side. It's called the port side or the starboard. The starboard side is always the right side. The port side is always the left side. And a good way to remember that is port is 4 letters, left is 4 letters. That's how I've always remembered it. It's that's just kind of how I like to remember things, okay? So we've talked about the parts of the canoe. Now let's talk about the parts of the paddle. When you have your paddle, when you decide what size paddle you need, you want to make sure that it's going to fit your body. And the way that you do that is you measure the paddle. two ways to measure the paddle, all right? One way is I can put it down here on the ground, and ideally you want it close to your chin. Right now this is just a hand's width away from my chin, so it's a good size. There are paddles I have used that have been this tall. That's not good. And the reason it's not good is because the length of my arms, right? The parts of the paddle that you have your blade. This is the part that goes into the water. And ideally when you put the blade in the water, you're gonna put it in flat. And when you paddle and you go to take it out, you're gonna turn it so it comes out easier. And then you're gonna bring it around, put it in flat, paddle, turn it, and bring it out. So you've got your blade, then you have your throat. This is the throat of your paddle. This is the shaft, and this is the handle. You want to always put your hand on top of the handle. You don't want to put it on the side because that's going to tire you out more. And if your paddle is too long, you're going to be more apt to do this. So if you have the right size paddle, it's easy. But when you go to paddle, you have your hand down at your throat and your hand up at the top. When you go to switch, you just switch it over. That's all it is. It's a very quick motion, how you would switch it over like that, okay? So you've got your blade, your throat, your shaft, and your handle. The other neat thing with this handle is it got two little bars on it. So if somebody needs to grab, they can grab that. If I have them grab this, they can slide off. So always have them grab with the handle. The other thing is if you're trying to raft up in class, or if you want to raft up and talk about what you're getting ready to do on the river, whatever, this handle helps grab hold of the gunwale and keeps you close together, which is kind of a neat deal. I like that. All right, so that's the parts of the paddle. Now, for the personal flotation device, there's all sorts of different personal flotation devices out there. This is one we use for our class. It's very simple, as you can tell. It's got very basic usability. All you do to put this on is you put it over your head, make sure the strap is around you and tight, and you clip it in. So now, I am ready to get in my canoe. Pretty cool, right? So, what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna show you how to enter the canoe. I'm gonna scoot this a little closer so you can kind of see what we're talking about. All right. I talked about the keel line. I don't know if you can see it right here, but this is the keel line right here. This center part of the canoe. Right here is the keel line. And then you've got your thwarts. As I said earlier, if I were just gonna go and step in the canoe like this, it's gonna move. If it's on the water and I step too far, then I'm overboard, man overboard, and we don't want that. So we wanna make sure that we're always very careful when we get into the canoe. So when you go to enter the canoe, a couple things you wanna remember is you wanna remember where you're gonna put your foot related to this keel or this center line. Because if you step off to either side, you can wiggle the canoe, and if you've got your partners up front and they don't lean the right way, you guys are both in the water, and you don't want that to happen. So before I get in my canoe, good morning. Before I get in my canoe, I put my paddle in where I can reach it, and I want to keep my center of gravity low. So I'm going to step, since I'm getting in the stern seat, I'm going to stay low. I'm going to put my foot on the keel, and as soon as I do that, I'm grabbing both sides, both the gunwales, all right? So as I come in, I bring my foot in, keep my rear end low, and I sit down. And then I am ready to canoe. It's that simple. Now, I am in, my partner is in up there, and we're going to be going on the water. And we got to figure out how we're going to work together for this. The best way to do it, there's 2 or 3 different types of strokes that you can do when you're canoeing. You can do, good morning.
Looking good.
Thank you so much. You've got a basic front, forward, and backward stroke. You've got a reverse stroke, and you've got a draw stroke. So there's different types of strokes you're going to use. For the forward stroke, I'm going to hold my paddle like this, and then I'm going to reach out toward the thwart. I'm going to put it in, and I am going to pull my paddle back. Make sure my blade is down. I'm going to make like a J. So I'm going to pull it back, make the letter J, and then I'm going to pull it out. And then I bring it back around to the front, put it in, pull it back around to the J, and pull it out. After 2 or 3 strokes, I may want to change sides. So I just switch sides like this. I put it out, I pull it back, make the J, and make sure it's flat. I make sure it's always this parallel to the boat when I pull it out, and it's always perpendicular to the boat when I put it in. So put it in, pull it back, make a J, and pull it out. That's a basic stroke. Now the person in the stern seat is the one who will help steer the boat. There's a couple ways to do that. If this basic stroke, we can all stroke on the same side, or I can have my partner stroke on the port side while I'm on the stern side. Either way is fine. To know what direction you want to go, you need to visualize where you need to have a point in the distance, kind of like when we were doing our navigation and we had to have a point in the distance to know where we were going, to be able to see where that is. I'm going to have a point in the distance, and as the driver of this boat, I'm in charge of making sure we stay in the direction that we need to go. And that means I may have to switch and paddle on the same side as my person. I may have to paddle on the opposite side. But the other thing I can do is I can use this as a rudder. A rudder is something in the back of a boat which helps to steer it. And all I have to do is, pretend I'm sitting down, is I'm going to put my paddle back at the base of the boat like this. And if I just move it in and out, that's going to help direct the boat as my person in front is steering. So that's something you can do there. If you want to turn the boat, there's two ways you can do that. You can either both paddle on the same side for a forward stroke, right? Or we can paddle on the same side for a backward stroke. And that'll both of those will turn you in a circle. It's a little slower way to do it. Another way that I prefer to do my stroke is I have my partner in the front, in the bow seat. They will paddle forward and I will paddle backward on the opposite side. It's a tighter turn and a quicker turn. That's just what I like to do, all right? Now, for the other stroke I wanted to talk to you about, it's the draw stroke. If I'm coming up and I'm a little bit far away from the land where I want to get out, let's say, and I need to pull myself over, I'm going to have my paddle flat. I'm going to reach out to where I want to go, and as I lean over, my partner's going to lean the opposite direction. If they don't, we're in the water. So my partner's going to lean opposite direction. I'm going to put my paddle in the water, and I'm going to pull my boat toward where I want to go. It's usually the shore, all right? And that's your draw stroke. So those are the three different strokes that we talk about in canoeing. Now the other thing I want to have you do, and I want to show you how this works, is the 3-point stance. And there's a couple reasons we do the 3-point stance. One is so that I can get better stability in the boat, or if I'm tired, or if I want my partner to change positions with me. I'm sitting in my seat and I want to go to a 3-point stance. Maybe I need to do a draw stroke and I'm afraid I'm going to lean over too far and I need more stability. So the 3-point stance is just that. I'm going to put my feet back behind me. I'm going to spread my knees out and I'm going to lean forward to put my knees on either side of the bilge inside the boat. So now I'm basically straddled in the boat. With this, I can control how much the boat is going to maneuver or rock back and forth. I have more control of that. All right, so I've got my 2 points, my knees are my 2 points, my feet are my 3rd point. So I've got that's why it's called a 3-point stance. I can hold on to the thwarts and control it, or I can hold on to the bilge, or the gunwale, either one. If I'm gonna do the draw stroke from this side, then definitely as I'm here, I want my partner, to lean to the other side as I come out and I pull this way. All right, so those are the basic strokes. Now to get out of the canoe, it's the same as it would be it's the opposite of as it would be when I get in. I'm not just gonna throw my leg out and get out. That's not how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put my foot back on the keel. I'm gonna keep my rear end low. I'm gonna lift myself up, step out, and then step out, and I'm done. So that's the basics for canoeing. On Thursday, we will have more information. We'll actually try to be on the water. So look for that lesson as well. Y'all have a wonderful day.